Oh my gosh, I'm so excited today. Finance can be messy, but don't worry, we clean it up with facts, fun, and maybe a little sarcasm. Welcome to the Financial Sandbox. Let's get into it. Today, my guest is Joe Williams. Joe is the co-founder of Keller Williams Real Estate. Joe and I met a couple of months ago. We had dinner, and I really enjoyed sitting down with him over a meal so much that I had to have him on the show. You founded Keller Williams back in 1983 with Gary Keller. He seems to be the front man.
Well,
and you seem to like being in the background.
Yeah, the truth is, Herb, Gary deserves that because early on, and in fact, this is probably good for your listeners to know. Early on, Gary and I were a very good combination for each other. I mean, we're two completely different personalities. And I think Gary knows that, and I know that. Yeah. Gary's very, he's a head guy, visual. I think of Gary as Steve Jobs of real estate. I mean, that literally is who he is. And I'm all heart. I mean, send me out there to close the sales, send me out there to recruit people, send me out there to train, whatever. And we were a very good combination for each other because his strengths were my weaknesses and really vice versa. But by 2 or 3 years in, I had a really different situation. We owned a bunch of real estate at the time. Gary got divorced from his first wife. Even he admits today he probably never, should have got married. Now he's been married for many, many years, very successfully, great lady. But he and I sat down in 86, which was a really bad time in Texas. Yeah. Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, New Mexico got flushed down the toilet. I mean, oil was $7 a barrel. It was the S&L crisis. The RTC came to town. They shut down all the banks. I mean, I have to laugh. People talk about the 07, 08 crash. That was nothing compared to what we had at 86 to about 90. And it was at that time I looked at Gary. He looked at me and I said, look, you love this. Gary loved the management. He, all the things that it's going to take to get something launched. He was very visceral. He was into it. I was not. I like to put things together. I like to go make sales, and so I said, look, I'm going to sell you X and I'm going to keep X. And Gary was very good about that. He said, yes, you should. I don't want you selling out. I need your help. We still need to work it together. And that turned out to be a very good thing for him and for me.
Because you guys were partners. I mean, within 2 years, the Austin office was the city's largest single office residential brokerage.
Yeah, it took about 3 years and we were well on our way. We were doing well. I mean, sat down and did the Pepsi challenge because I'd been doing it 8 years. Gary'd been doing it 6 years with our previous broker. And, Gary had a degree in real estate from Baylor. I had a degree in real estate from the University of Texas. Of course, I always tell people that $5 will get you cafe mocha. Because real estate, it's a street business. You learn it by doing it.
You do.
And but that really allowed Gary and I to work on our strengths. I for years have been helping our commercial guys because that was really my background was more the commercial side of the business. Mm-hmm. And of course, we were a massively large residential company. And
today you're 160,000 agents worldwide.
Actually, I think we're closer to 195,000.
My gosh. Okay.
That's the count. And we're in about 64 countries.
So today you're the largest, right? Aren't you from an agent standpoint?
Here's what I would tell you. Here's the exact definition. We're the largest privately owned real estate franchise in the world. Now, you just had a consolidation, where Compass and Anywhere are going to join forces. Once they do that, they're definitely going to be number one because our agent count will be above 300,000 agents. Pretty
Right.
impressive. Now, of course, I say that, as you know, tongue in cheek a little bit because
I know you do.
those guys take on a tremendous amount of debt to go pull that off. And KW has always grown organically, and we don't have any debt.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, a good friend of mine works for some major corporations, and he's taken a lot of companies public. And he said, Joe, let me tell you something, man. If you give me the choice between being public with a lot of debt or private with no debt, that's an easy decision because he's been in both worlds. And, they're all good companies.
Yeah. I mean, in full disclosure, right? My real estate license is held with Coldwell Banker.
Yeah.
What do you see when you look at the landscape of real estate these days? I know Compass took a swing and a miss at another company last year, and now they're going after Anywhere, a merger. What do you see the changes in real estate, especially the suit that was resolved in 2024, and what are the changes? What do you see headwinds or et cetera down the road?
Yeah, let me start by giving you an educational perspective. Okay, so you see me in a square on your screen, correct?
I do.
Okay,
so does my audience.
I want you to look at that square where I am, and at the very top of the square, I want you to think hard. In other words, right up in here, it's hard. Okay, down at the bottom of this screen, it's easy. So that's a one-dimensional plane that you've got. Hard at the top, easy at the bottom. Now, on one side of this right here, it's all in the cloud. What your grandmother used to say, Herb, it's in the ether, honey. so this side of the square, it's in the cloud. This side of the square, it's physical. Okay? So that's your other dimension. Now, what I've just described is the internet sandbox that we all live in. Mm-hmm. And coming across from this direction right here, this little corner right here, that's the internet. And it's rolling this way. Okay? Now, what that means is that let's take a job. Let's say travel agent. Okay. Today, is traveling physical or is it pretty much in the cloud as far as setting up your travel?
Yep, in the cloud.
It's in the cloud.
In the cloud, yeah.
All in the cloud.
All in the cloud.
And is it hard or is it easy? It's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I can use this thing all day long and go get my flights, go get my hotel. I can do almost anything right here on this. Well, that puts it in this little corner right there. Right there. So how secure is a travel agent's job? It's not.
Yeah, no, it's not.
You can't find a travel agent. Why? No. Because they're in the wrong corner of the internet sandbox. They're right there. Now, let's take banking. I'm a banker. Is banking in the cloud or is it physical?
Well, yeah, it's back in the cloud. Yeah.
It's back in the cloud.
Yeah.
When I can take a picture of a check and stick it on my phone and put it in the bank, I don't need a bank location.
Right.
And so what's happened to the banker? Well, fortunately for the banker, there are some loans that require talking to people in the flesh.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got through doing a letter of credit on one of our construction projects for a couple of $1 million. I had to go by the bank, go over all the stuff, blah, blah, sign it. I could have docu-signed it, but, I still had to go down there, double check this, double check that. So my point being, your job and your job security of keeping that job is totally dependent where you are in this square. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So let's talk about a commercial real estate agent. Well, is commercial real estate in the cloud or is it physical? It's a little of both, but most
both.
of it's physical.
Yeah, it's really both.
I'm not buying a 15-story building in downtown Houston without flying down to Houston and walking it from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I gotta physically look at that thing. I gotta physically look at the. I gotta verify so much stuff. It's incredible. So a lot of that job is indeed physical. It's up here.
Yeah.
And is it easy or is it hard? It's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's work.
You better understand what you're doing or you're going to be in big time trouble. So how much in jeopardy is the commercial real estate agent that anybody's going to take their job, including AI? Not much.
No.
Not much. Now, by the way, even a residential agent, what we've learned is the cloud helps.
Right.
In other words, during the pandemic, we had people coming from California looking at Matterport videos.
Yeah.
Here's your house. Of course, now you don't really get a feel for the neighborhood and
or the temperature and the humidity.
Well, yeah. How much
coming from California, and going to Texas, there's the temperature and the humidity.
in other words, the aspect it gets back to, Herb, when you're buying that product, how much of it is physical in nature? Well, in real estate, a lot of it.
A lot of it, yeah.
It's just like people say to me, well, how come you don't see many for sale by owners anymore? Well, number one, it's got more complicated.
Yeah.
And number two, there's a security issue. People don't just want any Tom, Dick, and Harry walking into their house nowadays. There's a lot of stuff going on. And so I look at the residential agents today and go, guys, if you do this correctly, you're not going to get replaced by AI or the computer or whatever. Those tools become your leverage.
Yep.
And let's face it, when ChatGPT came out, initially, that's really what it was, just a faster way to go summarize things. And ChatGPT could do all kinds of stuff. Now, again, it doesn't think outside the box. It just goes and pulls data and comes up with a summary answer.
Sure.
So it's only as good as the data that it's pulling from.
Or the person asking the data and how they're asking it.
But yeah, there's a lot of aspects to it. So what I'm saying, Herb, you're talking to a guy that's been doing real estate for 53 years, okay? So it's it's very easy for me to look at this from 30,000 feet up and go, a lot of the same things still happen. It's still very much a relationship business.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is because when you go purchase a home, there's a lot of aspects to it. The survey, the environmental, the loan package, the value. Is the value there? The neighbors, all kinds of things, regional things. In Florida, if you don't go check for termites, you're nut. Because you got to worry about that in Florida. Here in the hill country, we don't worry about that. We get a termite inspection, but we rarely have them eaten around here. Why? Because we're sitting on a rock. And so you've got to know those subtle nuances of wherever it is you're buying. And so because there's so many aspects to a piece of real estate, it's hard for all these tech bros to come in and figure out how to do this with strictly technology.
Right.
They've been trying to do it for 20 years. I haven't done it yet.
Nope.
Now,
it's still a relationship transaction.
In the long run, yes.
Yeah.
Give me an agent who learns how to develop their value to people they don't know or they've only met once or twice, and go get 100 of them and they can make a great living. And that's never really changed. It's kind of like, I love it when people have their first kids, right? Well, how do you go find your pediatrician? Well, you don't really start at Google. You tend to ask your friends first.
Right.
Hey, do you like your pediatrician? Who are they? Are they with a group? Blah, blah. And this gets back to even more basic sales training. What I tell the agents is, look, 20% of the people, somewhere between 15 and 20% of the people, they use this to make their decisions. Okay, they're head people.
Right.
And what head people want is, number one, they want to know that you know what you're talking about. Okay, and that's universal. But number two, they want you to explain the data and the facts to them in a way that they can understand. And they're going to judge you, Herb, by how well you know that data and the facts. And that's just how these people think. Now, the rest of the world uses this, right?
Yep.
They're hard people. They want to build a relationship with you. They want to like you. They want to trust you. So I always tell the agents, look, you're going to spend more time with people like that. You don't get in and out in a 30-minute listing presentation with hard people. No, it doesn't work like that. They want to know that you can be trusted. They want to know that you understand your business too. But more than that, they want to trust you and like you. Because if you don't get past that, they're not going to do business with you. So that's kind of the classic. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right.
Because even though the internet's out there, even though Google's out there, you know, the example I gave a guy the other day, we were looking for hotels in Paris, right? And so you go to hotel.com or booking.com, whatever. Head people go there and they look at the numbers and the location and how close are they and all of that stuff. The heart people zero in on the testimonials.
Right. Right.
They make their decisions based on what other people thought about those hotels. And that's never really changed.
Yeah.
So even though AI is now here, and, you know, to me, that's just another leverage tool that, yeah, is AI going to take a few jobs? Yeah, probably will in the creative areas. But in other areas, AI is just going to supplement. It's just another technology tool to supplement what you're doing. It's going to hurt the internet web services, hurts Google more than anything, because AI can do your search and do it. It does the same thing that Google does.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. In 2024 was the first year that Google searches declined. So I'm going to ask you a handful of questions here that I have prepared. You've been through multiple cycles of this real estate market. What do cycles tell you when you watch, and what do most people miss?
Well, here's what I would tell you. And this is a lesson to understand about real estate, okay? Basic wealth building 101. I can go buy a stock, right? But there's a lot of things I don't know about what props up that stock's value. Partially because I'm not sitting there in the board of directors of NVIDIA, so I don't know what they're planning. And I'm not sitting in the board of directors of their competitors, so I don't know what they're planning. But here's the beauty of real estate. Real estate, at its core, is a learnable investment. And what do I mean by that? Well, the number one thing about real estate, and it's the main thing about it, is real estate's all about value, okay? What's it worth today? What's it worth a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? As an investor, even a homeowner, that's a critical question. Well, here's the good news. The things that impact real estate values, it's generally all public data. You can go find it,
Right.
and you can study it. For example, if I'm going into Raleigh, North Carolina, I can go check supply and demand. That's big. I can go check job growth. That's big. I can check city policies. I can check utilities. I can check school districts, hospitals, transportation. I can look at all of the things that basically impact those real estate values locally. In fact, if you send me to Raleigh and you park me in a library with a car, give me a month and I can become almost a semi-expert on values in Raleigh, North Carolina, just by going after and grabbing that data. Now, even better if I can go find a local realtor who already knows all of this, right?
Right.
Because I'm more than happy to pay that guy because I don't have the time maybe to go do all his work. He's been doing it for 3 years. He knows stuff I'd never know, even if I was there for 90 days. And so my point is, real estate and the things that drive the values, you can go look up and study. So when you look at the market today, from my perspective, a guy that's, seen it all, and this is one of my rules of the road, Herb, when I'm teaching agents, nothing to do with wealth building. It's rule number 2 about real estate. Everything changes except human nature. Okay? Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that if you get an economy where the government is doing quantitative easing, right, which it did for 12 years, throw money into, we're going to buy bonds, throw trillions of dollars into the economy to hold interest rates at ridiculously low levels, right? 2 and 3%. And then all of a sudden you come out of a pandemic and you got no supply and you're throwing money in there during the pandemic. Well, that's your classic definition of inflation. Too many dollars chasing too few goods. So what happens with numbers and prices? Otis elevator, man. Everything's going up.
Right.
So the only way the government can fight this is they either flood the market again with money and make it cheap, or they withhold it and hopefully slow down the economy, which forces everybody to stop buying, and that. So you either increase supply or you restrict demand. And so what do? Well, it's playbook 101. We're going to raise Fed rates, double. And all of a sudden everybody goes, ah! And especially even the young people who work for me. My gosh, they had 12 years of making buku money. It was so easy to make money. I mean, Kermit the Frog could have been a realtor. And so all of a sudden they restricted and rates go to 5, 6, 7. Here's the funny part about it. Herb, when I got started in 1973, what do you think the rate was for buying a house?
Oh, a lot higher than that.
7.25. No. We're talking 73.
Oh, 70. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when I bought my first house before Janine and I got married in 1983, and I bought her a house before we got married, I was paying 13%.
Right.
So a guy like me looks at today's rates and goes, guys, y'all don't understand. Money's not all that expensive. It only feels that way because they had 12 years of ridiculously low rates.
Right.
But the reality is that the double-edged sword is that the costs have gone up so high, especially when you think what it's cost since the pandemic. Prices in real estate almost doubled everywhere. So I get that. And nobody's happy about that. You go buy a starter home in Austin, Texas today, it's $410,000. Yeah. So
a lot higher in California. So you've been a developer now. So what do you see? You're talking about costs going up. What's your biggest challenge as a developer when you're getting out there? You're starting from dirt. You're looking at drawings and plans and communities and neighborhood. Where do you see the challenge and where do you see the opportunities today?
Well, I will tell you right now, when you look at asset classes, okay, probably the safest asset class to develop in is literally single family, A perfect example, we just bought 365 acres in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Before we even closed, I was able to go to a major national builder and put the whole thing under contract, provided we go in there and develop the lots.
Right.
They want to buy finished lots. We get that. Every national builder, they don't want to be doing development work. They just want to buy the lots. But they'll buy these lots with a big enough delta that it makes a lot of sense for us to buy the raw land, go build the lots, turn around and then flip those lots over to the builders. Plenty of capital on it. The good news is, even if this builder told me tomorrow, hey, we can't do it, we're out of here, there's 5 builders I could talk to. And why? Because we don't have enough single family lots, Herb. We haven't had them for 10 years.
Right.
That started in 07, 08, 09, when the major banks pulled back everybody's credit lines. So nobody could develop lots for about 4 or 5 years. And so we've been behind the curve the whole time. Haven't been able to catch up. And any city USA across the South, for sure, you just don't have enough lots. So if you look at asset classes, that's a very, very safe asset class.
Sure.
So
what do you see as like regional? You're going to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Where do you see the growth? I mean, is it Arizona? Is it the Northwest? Is it the Smile States?
Well, I would say in our book, if you want to be brain dead and as low risk as possible, for me, that's Florida, North Carolina, or Texas. Mm-hmm. Now, the next line behind that, you still have a lot of areas that are going to do well. Georgia, Tennessee, Arizona, Utah, there's parts of Idaho. It's just not massive markets. The problem with some of these markets that have a lot of potential is that the time frames to get stuff out of the ground, that's always been California's issue.
Yep.
When it takes 5 years to get your entitlements, geez, you know what I mean? It's just tough because, I mean, we're either using our own money or we're using investor capital sometimes, where we spread our risk a little bit. It's hard to do it in states where they make it so darn difficult, to get your process going. It's just tough.
Sure.
But Florida, Texas, North Carolina have been very developer-friendly areas, and they have no choice. I mean, they got people moving there like crazy. Florida got a huge injection during the pandemic.
Right.
And I don't think that's going to stop. It's going to continue. And North Carolina, what would happen is people would leave New York, go down to the Gold Coast of Florida, and typically what they did, they went there between Thanksgiving and Easter. Right. Okay. And then they went back. But then they retire and they actually moved to Florida full time. And it's their first Florida summer to go through. And all of a sudden, they're like, damn, it's hot here. It's hot. It's humid. And what are these no-see-ums, man? I'm 5 and 6. We did a bunch of projects down in Florida, and our guy, Ron Greenland, great guy, we were fishing out back of his house. He had a really nice canal back there. Comes 5 o'clock. He goes, well, time to go have a beer. I'm like, why? The fish are biting. It says, you'll figure it out in about 10 minutes. And there's about a 60-minute level there where the no-see-ums come out. And then after 6:30, they're gone. I mean, after that, you got mosquitoes and the normal stuff. But, man, these other no-see-ums, they bite. And so my point is, what we found out about North Carolina is that a lot of these people move to Florida, and they're like, this is too hot. But they don't want to go back up to New York. So what they do is they move to North Carolina. Mm. And I opened the Raleigh office for Keller Williams back in the 2000s. And that was what we discovered is a third of the buyers we had came from Florida. Mm. Craziest thing I ever saw. So anyhow, I think North Carolina is going to do. And South Carolina is a cool place. Tennessee's a cool place. And you'll find some pockets. I mean, I've got a friend of mine just bought a nice tract of land in Northwest Arkansas. That's Bentonville, Walmart Country, Missouri. There's a lot of neat stuff going on. It's beautiful there and it's very cheap. So, it just depends. Now, the problem with the Western states, and you know this being out there in California, is you've got a lot of utility issues like water.
Yeah.
We had a guy, this very interesting statement. Clayton Williams, he ran for governor of Texas. This is going back 30 years. I remember he came to the Austin Chamber of Commerce, and he was talking to us, and he's an oil guy. He said, guys, don't worry about oil. He said, we got plenty of oil. That's not going to be the issue. He said, your problem is going to be water, because you can't you can make water, but not cheaply. You with me? Israel desalinates its water, but they got, gazillion miles coastline to be able to do that. You can't do that for the USA. Doesn't work.
Right.
So whatever water you get, you really got to figure out how to make it last. And we're working now in subdivisions where we take 20% of the gray water and you just filter it and you send it right back into your fresh water system. And you can do that. There's people drinking potty water today. They just don't know it. But the truth is, Herb, you can filter it to such a degree, you'd never be able to tell.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about Keller Williams.
Yeah.
If you had to launch Keller Williams today from zero, what would you copy from 1983 and what would you do completely different?
Well, here's what I would tell you. The whole premise behind KW. And by the way, now, back in the late 80s, because, we didn't start franchising until 89. And really a lot of our growth happened in the late 90s, when we hockey sticked. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
The biggest deal that Gary and I came up with was the idea that you, the agent, are really the brand.
Which is the same with every brokerage, every agent, and they should realize that.
What I'm saying is today, that's been copied by everybody. Yep. Everybody gets that. It's just like when the first guy wanted to come and leave us, and Gary very wisely sits down with him and says, okay, I get it, but why don't we run the numbers and see why you're doing this? Well, of course, then the guy started to understand if he just uses KW as the umbrella, and then he can run his own Herb Alston team, his logo, his team, and we're only going to charge him a little teeny bit to be with us. He's crazy to go out on his own. And to their credit, they figured this out. And so it's been interesting because as time has gone by, a lot of the initial ideas that we started have now been filtered out and everybody gets it and they copied it. And that's probably a good thing. It's the normal metamorphosis of an industry. But when you ask that question, the idea that the agent is the brand, that would be central, even if I was doing it today. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing,
what would you do different? What would you do different?
What would change? Yeah. I'll tell you, this is just an internal thing. When we set it up, we didn't really set up our office expenses to increase correctly with what we charge the agents. Uh-huh. And bad on us because, we capped their commission, but we didn't realize when we said, hey, you're just going to pay us X to be with us. Well, in some of those offices, Herb, that's the same X it was 30 years ago. We never raised their cap. And so now our margins have gone down.
Right.
And the other thing too, I think with profit share, and this was a perfectly, when we set up the profit share, if you came to work for me, Herb, and you recruited people and I then paid you based on their production, the way we originally set it up is if you leave me and go to work for a competitor, you still get your check from Keller Williams. And some of our agents came back years later and said, guys, that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. And I mean, looking back, it probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. Now, it is what it is. We're not changing it. But I do find it almost hilarious to think that we get a bunch of guys that go start another company and our profit share checks are helping to fund their startup. I mean, when you think about that, doesn't make any sense. We just didn't think it through at the time. Now, does it give us a lot of good PR? I'd like to think that's the case,
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, if I was doing it today, I think I would have said, well, wait a minute. Yeah. And that's just a perfectly honest answer that I think anybody would say, yeah, that makes sense.
So as a founder, you set up cultural practices. What's the proudest cultural practice that outsiders rarely see about Keller Williams?
Well, I mean, obviously the biggest one, Gary thought this through more than I did. He got exposure to it early, and that would be the profit share program. I mean, our whole theory is, what if you could get everybody that works for you thinking like an owner? How do you do that? Well, you share profits with them. Treat them like an owner. And, back when we did that profit share, nobody was doing that. It was unheard of. In fact, as we rolled across the country, people would say, oh, they're the Amway broker. And it's funny because I felt bad for Amway, because, look, I sat through an Amway meeting out of college. Didn't everybody? I'm 72 years old. I got out of college in 76. Back then, there were only 2 or 3 ways to make a lot of money. And downline, some kind of a downline deal was a fast way to make money, provided it was a decent product. Well, the only decent product out there at the time was probably Amway. But, they have a good quality product. Now, I didn't want to sell soap, but I remember sitting there looking at the circles, as the guy drew it on the board going, tell me about those circles, man. Because, here's the crazy thing. And a lot of people don't know who he was, but Trammell Crow, who was a developer out of Dallas, smart guy. He's the guy that literally invented the modern day industrial park. When you drive in an industrial park now, it's highly landscaped, beautiful, tilt wall buildings. It's good looking stuff. Trammell's the guy that came up with that. He built it in the Trinity River Basin in east of Dallas. But what Trammell did is he'd go, hey, Herb, you're my local guy in Dallas, okay? I'm going to make you a partner. You're going to lease all this stuff. I'll come in and build it. You're going to lease it all, and you and I are going to share profits. Now, I'm going to get most of those, but I'm going to give you 20% or something. And, hey, Herb, if you find somebody, we need somebody in Arizona. And one day you call him, you go, hey, Trammell, I was just at a CCIM conference. I met this guy, Joe Williams, in Arizona, in Scottsdale. Man, we need to go see this guy. This guy is good. Well, you and Trammell come out, you see me, he shows me what he's doing. God, what's not to like? I'm your man. Next thing you know, he makes me a partner. And every time he does a deal there, I make money, Trammell makes money, and he comes back to you and he pays you a percentage of the money. And then he says to both of us, look, we're going to Florida. We've been doing this in Scottsdale and Dallas. We could build this in Orlando all day long. I know. Go find me. So next thing you know, I'm calling Trammell. This guy, Gary Keller, he's in Orlando. Man, he's fan. Played golf with him when I was out there for whatever. Next thing you know, Gary's on board. They're building there. Every time Gary sells something, you make money, I make money. Well, that's no different than a downline system.
Sure.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, Herb, as we marched across the country. In fact, I remember specifically, we went up to the Northwest in Seattle. And as you know, there's 2 fine companies up there, J.L. Scott and Windermere. And they've been up there forever. Good companies.
Yeah.
Great companies. But a couple of their managers made a comment publicly. They said, well, this KW thing. It's all about building wealth. And the other manager, I think he said something like, well, they're going to find the buyers and sellers are, different in Seattle. And, we're sitting there thinking, I don't think the buyers and sellers are really different anywhere in the USA. They're pretty much the same. If you give them good service and good value, you're going to get their business. And so
that's right.
I bring that up because as we marched across the country, a lot of these guys just didn't take us seriously. Okay. Like they said, when we went into Nashville, I'll never forget Bill Haygood, our regional guy. I was talking to him one day. He said, Joe, when we go make our presentations, rarely did we actually have the brokers from the competitors in the room. They would send somebody, but they never came, which means they just weren't into curiosity, right?
Right.
And so they never really got the full story. And they would walk away with the circles on the board going, oh, there, it's an Amway deal, whatever. And we found over time that helped us immensely because no one took us seriously.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they lose one of their top guys to us because their top guy would close a deal with one of our agents. And after the deal, after the buyer left, they'd say, whoa, wait a minute, Herb, can I ask you a question? Whoa, why did you go to Keller Williams? You with me?
Yeah.
And all it would take is us getting one top agent who everybody knew. That turned Dallas overnight. Yeah. Mike Brody, great guy, been with us forever. Mike was the top agent in Dallas. And what was unusual about Mike was he was a nice guy. No, you know what I'm talking about, Herb. There's a ton of mega agents out there, but hey, man, it's all about, what are you going to do? I'm the man. Mike was one of those unusual mega agents who talked to everybody. Everybody loved Mike. We kept trying to recruit Mike. We're getting nowhere. Finally, a guy who knew him, Darren, I can't remember Darren's last name. Anyhow, I think Gary or Mo Anderson called Darren and said, Darren, we just want to sit down with Mike. If you don't like what we have to say, it's okay. We'll pay to fly him in. So Darren got Mike to fly to Austin. Gary got in front of the whiteboard. Mike, he met Mo, who's just a big part of our success, Mo Anderson. God bless her. She was our CEO for many, many years. And bottom line is, because I talked to Mike later, and he said, Joey says, I figured I had nothing to lose. I'm going to join these guys. If it doesn't work in a year, I'll go back to where I was.
Yeah.
And of course, he joined. Next thing you know, he loved what we were doing. Next thing you know, everybody in Dallas goes, Mike joined Keller Williams? All of a sudden, overnight, hey, if Mikey did it, Mikey likes it. You remember the commercial?
Right, that commercial. All right, I'm going to try to hone you in on answers here. So I'm going to get a short answer from you. What's the smartest thing a brand new agent can do in their first 90 days at any brokerage?
Here's what I would tell you. Statistically, okay, everybody knows 180 people. Okay. That's just the stats.
Okay.
An example I always give is, okay, if I was going to divorce my wife 44 years, how many guys do I know who I could tell them I'm going to divorce Janine before I break it on her? Well, the average, Herb, is 2 people. In other words, two guys close enough that you could have that conversation with them before you break it to your wife. So my point is this. 180 people, but you only know 2 of them that closely. And if they're going to list their house, they're going to list it with you. Doesn't matter. They're that close to you. They would never think of listing with anybody else. But that means your first thing to do is make the list of the other 178.
Right.
Don't go anywhere. Don't take a course. Don't do anything until you put down on paper who those people are. And then it is your mission in life in the next year to educate that group on how active you are in the real estate business. And by the way, you don't have to make a sale. I just want you to get their emails, which you could because you know them. Yep. And then you're going to start producing some stuff that gets in front of them where they're reading it going, I didn't know that. Yeah, they've changed the refrigerant for your HVAC. It was signed into law by Nancy Pelosi 90 days ago. And guess what? The new refrigerant, it's flammable. Whose brilliant idea was this? You're not even going to be able to get the old refrigerant. So I'm going to send you a thing talking about how this is going to impact your house, because guess what? It is. And I can't even begin to tell. I could spend 15 minutes, Herb, telling you what's going to happen, because I got to change 3 of my units here, this big, beautiful home. My point is this. You've got to take those people and convert them to the idea that this move you've made into real estate was exactly what you should be doing. Let me tell you, it's not that easy, because a lot of people will go, well, I know Herb worked for Nortel, and I know he was a good phone guy, but I don't know if he's going to make it in real estate. And so after a monthly email every month about this is happening, and hey, that intersection down there, they're going to tear down the Home Depot, and they're putting up a stadium for soccer. Are you kidding me? And all of this information. And then after about 6 months of this, they're going, damn, that Herb, he's really into this. Because here's what happens, Herb.
Yep.
Statistically, the 20/80 rule never changes, right?
Right.
So
right.
Out of the 180, you got 36 of them that have the ability to be at parties where some guy says, oh my God, I'm going to work for Microsoft. We're moving to Bellevue. And because they're now so sold on you making that jump, Herb, they go, I got a guy you need to talk to. You with me?
Yep. All right. I'm going to stop you there.
And that's how you turn those 36 into walking, talking billboards for you. Yep. And guess what? There's $500,000 in commission right there. Right there. All
right. So I'm gonna do some personal stuff. We're heading towards the end of our hour, but you're an avid bird hunter, right? And a duck hunter. Didn't you go away recently for that?
Yeah. If it flies,
favorite hunting memory.
Actually, let me tell you, this memory we just created is one of the best I've ever had. We shot more birds. Now, why? Because my son had his birthday. And he's 36 years old. He works for us. We're turning him into a wastewater savant. Because when you're in the commercial raw land business, if you don't have utilities, you don't have anything. So it was his 36th birthday, and it was his uncle, who is very involved with Ducks Unlimited in Canada. And I am too. We support them. 90% of the ducks that we shoot down in the South, they originate up in Saskatchewan. That's where they breed.
Okay.
So a lot of our money.
They do fly south.
And then they fly south. They migrate for the winter, and then they go back and have babies, and then they migrate. And this goes on every year. So we had it up there, and there was a lodge up there that donates a hunt for a lot of the major sponsors for Ducks Unlimited. So we went up there and shot. And what was incredible was these guys were fantastic. In fact, I'll show you this. You'll appreciate it. They know how to put you on birds. And so when you can get into a hunt and this is what you're looking at.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's a serious duck hunt. Duck and geese.
Duck and geese there.
So I will tell you, that's probably one of all the memories I've had. That one, that stands out we've never shot that many birds. And you can do it in Canada because they're all up there and they're starting to migrate down, but they know how to find the birds. And the beauty of hunting, the other thing, two things I'll say about hunting. Number one, we eat everything we shoot. My wife is from Central Louisiana. Her brothers, who I hunt with all the time, well, they're all excellent game cooks. They just are. So no matter what we shoot, now, of course, we couldn't bring back that many birds. I mean, we're limited as to what we can bring back, but it all ends up on the plate in a gumbo in some form or fashion. So it's really good.
So when, as a hunter, there's a lot of patience, timing, and it sounds like there's some teamwork. How's that related in Keller Williams and as a realtor? When you look at that, how does that relate?
Here's what I would tell you. Half of the battle for a realtor, okay, is learning how to use leverage. I always say there's 4 things about real estate agents, 4 things you have to pay attention to. Item number 4 is the leverage item. How to use your lenders for leverage. How to use technology for leverage. That's really all technology is. So how do you tie it all together to increase your productivity? And by the way, when you sit down, you'll love this, Herb. I hope your group will too. When people often ask me, hey, what's your goal? What's your goal in life? I love to get up in front of a stage and get a bunch of agents. What's y'all's goal? Why are you in real estate? They say all kinds of things. None of them are the answer I have. My answer is leisure time. I want to use real estate to go get more leisure time. I've got 2 grandkids here this morning. We were playing this morning, and when I get off with you, we're going to go throw the football and have some fun. For me, that's why I like real estate, and I want to use it for that. So the money's important, but the time is more important, right?
Yep.
Because you can only, and the other thing about money is, as I've learned over the years, because I didn't come from money, and neither did my wife. She lived on a farm. Hell, my dad died when I was 10 years old. It was mom and the 3 kids. You know, I mean, I put myself through school, did all of that. And by the way, that was all good stuff because I learned a lot from it. But what I learned is that when you finally do make the money, it all has to do with what you're going to use it for and do with it. Because you do get to a certain point where how much do you need to live on?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Get your house paid off, get your cars paid off. Don't be stupid, and go figure out how to go do the things. If you could get up every day, and everybody says this, man, if you could just live every day like it was your last day. Well, the only way to really do that is to be very determined and goal-oriented with where it is you think you're going, which is to say, the first step in real estate world is determine what your big why is. Why am I doing this? Okay, what's the end goal here? Well, the end goal for me now is how do you just work 20 hours a week because it's fun and go be productive helping people or doing whatever it is you want to do.
So I'm going to hit 2 topics then. One is, as a grandfather, what future-proof skill? What do you want your grandkids to master that schools might overlook, or that when they look at you, they say, "This I got from my grandfather"?
Here's what I always tell kids, and this is what I tell young parents. The most important number one, understand something. Personality is not anything that you impact. Okay, all kids come out of the womb with a certain personality. And you can ask any parent who has more than 1 kid, hey, are your kids different? Oh my God, are they ever? Yeah, every single one. So as a parent, you are going to teach them things. You're going to teach them love. You're going to teach them hard work. You're going to teach them integrity. You're going to teach them how to stay into curiosity. And this one is real important. It's really the answer to your question, Herb. How are you going to teach them how to think? How to think. They're growing up in an environment where they're spending so much time looking at this. And you and I both know this is a double-edged sword, because there's a lot of crap in here and there's a lot of truth in here. How do they determine what's crap and what's truth? Right. How do they stay into curiosity? Because it's kind of like the governor of Utah after that guy killed Charlie Kirk. Yeah. I don't even know who Charlie Kirk was till all this happened. But the reality is he made a comment. He said, I believe that social media is tearing us apart. Now, what he was saying is, I believe that the algorithms that Facebook and Google and all these guys use to feed me whatever it is I indicate that I'm thinking. I looked at a video the other day with babies and dogs. So guess what? I now get a steady diet of babies and dogs. Which, by the way, beats the hell out of the politics. I'd rather watch the babies and dogs.
I'm going to get two questions. I'm going to get to two questions here. One, you've always been a philanthropist, and KW Cares is a big part of Keller Williams. What legacy do you, as part of KW Cares, leave for the future? And as a philanthropist, where's your heart?
Well, I would tell you, here's what Janine and I try to do with charities, okay? We try to every year look at the charity landscape and go, where's our heart? Okay, what do we want to support? And I say that because this, Herb. I mean, you do have to come to a conclusion where you got a policy. Otherwise, you're inundated by everybody, right?
Right.
I mean, it's in my mailbox.
Exactly.
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. So we try to annually analyze where it is we're putting money and determining, okay, how much and when and all of that. As far as the company goes, I think the best thing that KW Cares did is it implants that seed in the agents that, look, we want to be good stewards in our communities. And part of that is giving back. We just take the day off and we do Red Day. And as you know, we're of the size that we have a lot of our own family that, gets a cancer that really devastates the family. Or we have all of these weather events. I mean, the KW Cares crew that we got, they've done a great job of, getting the 18-wheelers. At the minute Asheville gets 12 inches of rain, boom, we got the 18-wheelers headed there with generators, blanket. We know what they need. Yeah. Our guys are mobilized on the ground, and it's great now because it's a worldwide deal. I mean, I remember talking to Stefan Meyer. He and two other guys own KW France. We're more apt in the countries to sell the whole country. Just works better.
Yeah.
And I told Stefan, I said, Stefan, when you get to 3,000 agents in France, I'll fly over there and we'll do an interview and, at the convention. Normal. When he was about to get there, I flew over there. It was in Toulouse. Incredible trip. We really enjoyed it. And they interviewed me up on stage and stuff. And what struck me, what was immediately evident, is the cultural things that make KW such a cool company. These guys had never seen that in France. Mm. There weren't any companies that operated that way.
Right.
So for them, they're like, this is cool. In fact, Herb, it was amazing. I think the average age of our guys in France was like 38.
Oh, wow.
They were all young people. And part of that is it's hard to be an entrepreneur in France. I mean, it's hard to start companies in France. But you can be in the real estate business and get going and do great. And so that's why they were joining. I was shocked at how many agents we had there. We got a guy in Turkey, Emery. This guy, he's off the charts. I don't know how many offices we have in Turkey now, but man, I was looking at a YouTube video of the convention and stuff, and they're so excited about this culture and how the company, and of course we have profit share there. There it's called growth share, and we have to do it a little differently, but it's the same basic concept. And nobody I mean, you want to talk about some traditional brokers in France. You don't have to be licensed to be a sale. I think this is correct. You don't have to be licensed to be a sales guy. You have to be licensed to be a broker. And that's because the brokers want to control the salespeople.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, man. And
you brought a different paradigm in.
Here we come in with our, hey, it's all about you, go get your team, go make all the money. And they're like, we've never heard of this. So it's been fun.
It's hard to kind of go to my usual boxers or briefs question, but I'm going to go there anyway. If you had to pick a cartoon character that best resembles you, who is it?
Wow, that's a good question. Cartoon character. I'm probably closer to Bugs Bunny. What's up, Doc? Yeah, probably closer to him. He stays in curiosity. He's got a good personality. Yeah, probably Bugs Bunny.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, that's a wrap. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more raw, real financial talk in the sandbox. Joe, this has been amazing. I love you as a person from when I met you, and so hanging out with you and on the show here has been quite the pleasure.
Hey, Herb, I'm more than happy you had me on, man. Call me anytime. Anytime you're headed down to Austin, let me know.
I will.